form, their tactics, style of play, why they're surging, why they're slumping, what these coaches' eyes can see. Jim and Paul with me today. We're talking about men's slice backhands, and I've got to assume Novak Djokovic, one of the all-time greats, has got the best slice backhand in men's tennis.
That would be a false assumption, Mary. That would not be accurate, and we're going to show you why. That's what we're here to do. We're going to show you some good slice backhands from a technical standpoint and where Novak could make some improvements. So we'll start off with American Steve Johnson, who has an amazing slice backhand. Look where he has that racket relative to the ball, almost on the same plane. That allows him to drive through the backhand. Let's roll it forward. He's able to hit a more penetrating slice when he does it that way. We're next going to see Novak Djokovic, and we'll compare Novak's racket, which will be vertical when he gets to the top of the swing, as opposed to Steve's, which was horizontal. Look at the difference in the technique when we get to the top and we freeze it. The butt cap is pointing straight down to the ground. The strings have a long way to travel to get to the ball. And what that means is he's going high to low. He's going to create more spin on a slice. Now, on the top spin shot, more spin is good. On a slice backhand, you actually don't want to overspin it, if you get my drift, because if you do, the ball will sit back up. Fed, Paul, has a great one.
The Fed does a great job going through the line of the ball. Look at the finish as well. Racket stays low, goes through the target. The racket head does drop. But again, look at Novak. Brings the racket up nice and high. That's up and down. So the racket head has to drop, and it's going to be more of a chopping act. And look at the follow through up and around his head. So he almost makes a U with the racket head. When he draws that U, the ball floats. Roger goes more in a linear fashion. Watch the racket head go through, and it stays low after impact. That ball is going to bite, it's going to stay low, and it's going to be very difficult to hit. Novak's, because of that U, just kind of floats, Jim. It gets underneath it, and it gets too much air under it.
So we're saying that Novak Djokovic's game can get even better.
Yeah, and I think it definitely can. I mean, the two areas where he could get better is the overhead and certainly the backhand slice. Thankfully, he uses the two-handed backhand most of the time. The slice is sort of a bailout shot for him if he needs it. But it definitely isn't up to snuff. It's certainly not one of the best in the business by any means. And it can provide real opportunities for players. If we slip into our Fidelity Hawkeye, Mary, I think we can actually take a look at the impact on these backhand slices on this laser. This is Novak's ball on a slice coming. It's bouncing up fairly high, and the blue one coming, Steve Johnson's, which will also bounce up a little bit high, not quite as high, got a little bit more pace to it, and then Rogers. Boy, does Rogers bite, doesn't it, Paul? I mean, isn't that what you want, Paul, a low bounce off the slice?
Yeah, it's amazing. Look at the difference right there with the Federer slice backhand skidding low through the court. Actually goes a little bit quicker. You can see that the ball's going to stay low, bite, and skid, so it stays out of the strike zone. That's why Rogers' backhand is so good. Stevie's is good too, but you see just that extra few inches for Novak, the ball's going to sit up, the player's going to get on offense, and that's when Novak is a little bit vulnerable, and that doesn't happen too often.
All right, so you two, give me your top three backhand slices.
Well, I'm going to go with, first of all, it's hard not to pick Roger, isn't it? I mean, I think you got to go with Raj straight out of the box. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to go with Stevie because Stevie's shot is so important for him. He doesn't like to hit his two-hander that much. And then Juan Martín del Potro has adjusted his backhand because of the wrist injuries on his left wrist. Now his slice backhand became a real weapon for him in the same way that Stevie uses it and Roger use it. They don't try and win points necessarily with it. They try and get more forehands after it. So Juan Martín, that's my number three. What do you got, Paul?
Well, I've got a couple of things and look at it a little bit differently. Federer's is Federer's. It's great. It goes through the court. Grigor Dimitrov hits it like Roger as well and uses it a little bit more defensively than Roger does, but still a very good one. And I like the uniqueness of the Andy Murray backhand because he has the terrific two-handed drive. But for a one-hander, when he takes the racket off with one hand and he hits it, it goes on a trajectory similar to Rogers. He doesn't have the same problem that Novak does where it sits up. So it's a really nice one for Andy. It's not easy for a two-hander to learn, is it, Jim?
No, it's painful.
Yeah, it's
not easy at all.
All-time great slice backhand on the men's side, all time.
I'm going with Muscles.
Ken Rosewall. Martina agrees with you.
Backhand slice passes down the line. You got a good slice.
All right. What about you? You have something different?
Well, we happen to have a woman on our show that's got a pretty amazing one. Martina Navratilova fights, goes through the court, stayed solo. It was brutal to play against. And on the men's side, I think I would go with Tony Roach, probably.
All Aussies. I got to say, his backhand slice was a nightmare to play, Mary.
Nightmare, what you got when it's not much.
We're going to take another break.